In this video, we will show you how you can enhance the configuration of the API product that we helped you create in the first guide in this series. We will first look at ways to limit API access to authorized client applications only. In other words, the main topic of this guide is API access control. This guide is part of a series to help you get started with Akana. Following guides explain ways to further enhance your API product for better discoverability and usability, or clarify more advanced Akana capabilities. This guide continues the API product configuration that was started in the first guide. Authorized access to an API means that the API is only accessible by authorized client applications. This is checked by the API gateway based on the authorization policy applied to the API. Essentially, an authorization policy checks the token that a client application provides as part of the request that it sent to the API endpoint. If and only if the token is found to be presented by an authentic client and if this client is found to be authorized to access the requested resource, the API gateway will allow the request. If not, it will immediately block the request and generate an alert. Without applying access control, the virtual endpoint that is created for an API on the API gateway can be invoked by any client that can access the host, which obviously poses a serious security risk as anyone can get access to the data accessible through the API. Limiting access to authorized clients only is a first important step in securing your API. To start, log into your Akana API portal by providing your username and password. In the top-level menu, click APIs. Find your API product in the list by clicking My APIs or All APIs. From the listed products, select the Pet Store API that we created in the previous guide. Once the API product has opened, select Implementations from the navigation menu on the left. Currently, there is only the default live implementation. Click to go to the implementation details. As you can see, by default an implementation is configured to allow for anonymous access. To enforce access control, we will first disable this setting. Click Edit to edit the implementation details. Uncheck Allow anonymous access. Click Save to save the setting. The left menu shows the various elements that can be configured with an implementation. To configure API access control, we will assign an Akana policy that is available out of the box. Click Policies to get access to the policy configuration page. No policies have been assigned to this API just yet. Click Edit to start assigning. Policies can easily be assigned to an API implementation by attaching them. For access control, we will attach the Atmosphere Application Security Policy. Click Attach to assign the policy to the API implementation. The Detailed Auditing Policy is a policy that captures request and response information. This is very useful when developing your API product, as it helps you to verify whether all is as expected. Click Attach to also assign this policy. Click Save to save your policy assignment. Here you can see that the two policies are now attached to your API implementation. To navigate back, click Go back to Implementations. Now that you have disabled anonymous access, the API is only accessible to authorized clients. The policy that you attached for access control determines how client authorization is handled by the API gateway. You can already verify that anonymous access is no longer possible by checking access through the test client. You will notice that the Invoke button is currently disabled. The test client is aware that first, a client identity must be provided. In a following guide, we will explain what needs to be done to grant API access to client applications. This guide covered the steps to enhance an API product by applying client access control. The API will now only accept requests from authorized clients. In another guide, we will show how different policies can be used to support other authorization models, for example OAuth.